Hey guys, it's Arizona Woodsman, and today I just wanted to go over a rod and reel combo I got today. It's my first bait casting. It's a P Flugear. I'm sorry if I butchered the brand. It's about a 7-foot rod, cork handles and a split grip, 7.3 gear ratio, with 10-pound monofilament line and a crankbait on it that I also just got today. So I just wanted to go over this rod, show you a few things about it, show you how it casts, give a little bit of insight on how to cast it and how to get rid of a backlash. So yeah, let's get to it. So let me take this off, and this crankbait dives about between 2 and 5 feet, and this is also my first crankbait. And I'm not an expert on this. I've just done a ton of research off of YouTube and Google and stuff on how to use these. And so what you do to cast these is there's this button right here, and with your thumb on the spool you press that button, and then what you want to do is you want to cast it and then put your thumb on the spool as right before it hits the water. And how you and that button here, I'm gonna use a spinning reel as an example, but that button is the same thing that little bar does that you flip up on a spinning reel. It lets the spool run freely. And why you wanna put your thumb on the spool right before it hits the water is to prevent a backlash, which is a nuisance with these reels. And the backlash is when the line is moving faster than the reel, so it like builds up and gets all tangled and stuff. And for a beginner, what I would recommend putting it on these are the brakes. There's 2 sets of brakes, a little dial right here, and then a little knob right there. And so on this knob, on the side should be labeled with numbers. What you want to put that, if you're just starting out, is on a 9 or 10. And if you don't have those, just put it on the highest you can. That's used to prevent backlash. Mine's set on 8 because I've had some practice with the baitcaster, and but what that will do is it will decrease your casting ability. It'll make it so that you can't cast as far. And on this, what you want to do to figure it out, because it's not labeled or anything, just press the button, and when it slowly falls steadily to the ground, so first you want to tighten that thing up by turning it. And then you want to, here, let me show you. So there's my bait. So then you press the button, it's not going anywhere. So then you want to adjust it until it slowly falls like that. And then just keep adjusting it. I keep mine on a little bit looser so I can cast farther. And so yeah, now I'm going to show you how to get rid of a backlash. And now to get this backlash, I'm just gonna engage the button and throw it at the pool that I'm casting into. And so here is what a backlash looks like. All that stuff. So what you want to do, the first thing that I would recommend is keep the button down. Alright? You see that button's down. To release that button, just turn the reel a little bit. And so what you want to do, here, let me find a good angle for you. So what you want to do is just gently pull the line outwards with the button down. If you press the button, it will make your job a lot harder. And don't yank it, because that could tighten it up into knots, which is terrible. And what you do to release those knots is to pull on them, loosen them up a little bit. And then it'll tingle around some of your stuff probably, like, and then just keep pulling, and there, back to normal. And then this star thing is the drag. People know what drag is, right? It's the amount of line a fish can, or that can be pulled out without engaging the reel to let the spool run freely. What this button is, it's like a locking mechanism. When you push it down, it unlocks. Oh, and I got another backlash. Why you put the brakes and stuff on like that on the settings is to prevent backlash, because what can create a backlash is when you cast it and you don't put your thumb on the spool as it hits the water. That can create a backlash, especially if your brakes are set to a lower setting so that you can cast farther and more precise. So you've got to be careful with that. And so yeah, and a baitcaster is I don't know for sure, but I think it's mainly used for bass. I mean, if you look around, like, ask people and stuff what they use for trout and what they use for bass, if they have different rods and reels. For trout, people mostly use spinning reels, because with a spinning reel and trout, you just throw a line out and leave it there. Wait for a trout to get it, unless you're fishing like creeks and stuff. But with a baitcaster and bass, you want to be active in your casting. It's like trapping and hunting, active and passive. Passive is when you just throw a line out and leave it there and wait for your fish to bite. Active is when you're casting and reeling, changing spots. You're being active. And so these are mainly used for active, sorry. So yeah, this combo I got at Sportsman's Warehouse, and it costs about $60. So far, it's a great combo. Oh, another backlash. Oh, well, that wasn't too bad. Like I said, you have to put your thumb on the spool before it hits the water, but like right before. Like, it's very hard to get to practice that. You have to practice quite a bit with that, especially if you've started off on spinning reels, because those you just throw out. And why would you want a baitcaster? Why not just stick with a spinning reel? A baitcaster is good for farther and more precise casting. You can control more aspects of it, like how much line it puts out, how far it can cast, and other aspects that you can't control with a spinning reel. But the components of these they do the exact same thing as all other reels. They put line out and they bring line in. That's all it does. You can get super in depth with it, like with the gear ratio, with the drag, with the action, but you got to think of it like this: they do the exact same thing. And one big difference about spinning and baitcaster is the gear ratio. The gear ratio is how many revolutions of the handle compared to how many revolutions of the spool. So one revolution of this, the gear ratio on mine is 7.3. So that means if I turn this one time, the spool itself will rotate 7.3 times fully. And that's more important with baitcasters than it is than it is with spinning reels. And a higher gear ratio is better for professional fishermen, because what that does is it makes it easier to reel in the fish. But what it does do, if you just go out to fish for fun and you enjoy the fight and you're not doing it for competition, is I would recommend a gear ratio like 6.4 if you're just going out to have fun, because I mean, the fight's the best part of fishing. I mean, everybody knows that. That's the anticipated part of it. So, it seems too easy with the higher gear ratio, in my opinion. But everybody's different. What works for you will work for you. I like a longer pole. This one's 7 feet. I think. It didn't say, but it seems like it's 7 feet. And that's a good starting height, but it is quite long. So you could be different. You could like it as short as 6'4". You could be as long as 8 feet. It all depends on you. And now I'm going to talk about the lures and baits and other things to use. So first off, the bait I have here is here. That's a crankbait. A crankbait is a bait like this. It's artificial. And then it has this. It's called the lip. What that lets it do is it lets it dive down. And it also has a rattle, this one at least. Most do. But it lets it dive down and get subsurface. But you can control how deep it dives with how fast you reel and the type of crankbait you get. They also have lipless crankbaits, which are crankbaits without these. Then you have buzz and spinning baits. Those are topwater. I'm going to show you the buzz bait I got right now. Here, just give me a sec. So this is the buzz bait I got. The buzz bait makes it a buzz bait with this. What that does is it spins and gives like a little buzz sound. So here, let's do a little unboxing, shall we? Now let's read this. And I'm sorry if this seems like a longer video than what I do. I just wanted to go a little in depth with bait casting things. So this is the hard bait buzz bait, or the heart buzz bait. Sorry, heart buzz baits invade the fish's habitat and trigger predatory reflex strikes. Fish's conditions require a variety of buzzbait combinations to attract the strike. Heart buzzbaits offer various amounts of vibration, flash, noise, and bubbles. Heart buzzbaits also create extra water displacement, simulating fleeing baitfish. The Bleeding Heart Bait Buzz series features several distinctive designs, so whatever you need, you can find a heart buzzbait that fits. Little propaganda there. So here's the buzzbait itself. There's the thing that spins in the water. This is the head of it, and then the hook. This isn't the best buzzbait because I would recommend getting one with a trailer hook, but you can put on one with a trailer hook. So here, let's throw this on and see how it works. So I've just thrown this on with a snap swivel. I have no idea how it's going to work since it's not looped. So let's try casting it. So, sorry. Here's the bait that I have on. I don't know if you can see it, but here's how it works. You throw it, and you could hear that. So I'm gonna do a little bit of casting with this little buddy. And this is mainly a topwater bait, and you see this happened. The snap swivel moved. Now it's hanging on by there. So I do not know how this is going to work. Maybe I should grab a pair of pliers and twist it into a loop, or I should just tie the knot onto it. I use snap swivels. I think snap swivels are made by the gods. They are absolutely wonderful. You cannot go wrong with the snap swivel, except on buzz and spinner baits. Spinner baits, not so much. But, like, especially with active fishing, you want to keep, if one thing's not working, change it. If one bait isn't working, switch it out for another one. A crankbait might not be working, so switch to a popper. It all depends on the conditions. For warmer temperatures, you want to go with more subsurface bait because they want to hang out in the cooler water, which is closer to the bottom. Like a crankbait or a jig or a Senko. A Senko is like a rubber worm that's quite long, or a grub will work. But for cooler temperatures like winter bass fishing, you want to go top water with a popper or a buzz bait or a spinner. Buzz baits and spinner baits are very similar. Oh, I just got snagged on my vacuum. So, and it might seem silly that I'm going out and casting into my pool, but it's better to find the problems before you go fishing than when you're out. Here I have resources to fix stuff, and I can take it back. So I would recommend practicing casting and with your baits and stuff before you go out and fish. I mean, no, I'm not going to catch a fish out of this, but just practicing. Practice makes perfect. So, alright, that wraps up my video for today. It is a longer video, so I hope you enjoyed. If you found it useful and would like to see more videos like this, or see me go out and fish with this, hit the like button or comment it down below. I really appreciate your views, your support, all that stuff. So, thank you for watching. I hope you enjoyed it. So, yep, see you on my next video.